price is going to come down here, and then the banks are going to fill in their buy orders by selling, taking the sell orders from the other guys, buying while the retail traders are selling, I should say. So, you know, when I look at this puzzle, because this is what this is a puzzle that you have to figure out. If you're not applying logic and reasoning and critical thinking to this puzzle, you're not going to figure it out. Hence why they don't teach critical thinking, logic, and all this way of analyzing data in school. Because if they did, then you would be able to, you'd have traders doing the same type of analysis. They wouldn't trust the media. They wouldn't trust, you know, what the so-called experts that are highly available all over social media, what they're saying. They would examine things for themselves. They would look at the newspapers and read it, you know, and analyze what's the legitimacy of these authors and their words and how accurate are they. They would track the performance, you know, keep records, and they would put in the time necessary to study the charts. Because, like we've said so many times, nobody can take studying the charts away from us. That's what we've empowered ourselves to do. You know, they say, you know, you don't teach a man to, you don't give a fish to a man, you teach him to fish. Why? Because then he could just go out to any lake whenever he wants and fish, right? He knows how to, you know, cast the rod out, cast the line out, what baits to use, why some places he can catch this fish and some places he can't. He knows all those details, and his life experience will tell him more and more and more, depending on how much he wants to learn. If he doesn't want to learn and he's lazy, he's going to have to go to the market, and he's going to have to succumb to the prices that are being offered to him by the market. And the fish are going to be farmed, and they're going to be filled with antibiotics, so he's going to be eating fish that's not even healthy for him. That were given antibiotics, which now those antibiotics are going to go into his belly, kill his good bacteria, and then his health is going to go down. So because of his laziness and because of his lack of wanting to do things for himself, he's going to be sick and he's going to die in earlier life, you know, in earlier time in his life. Whereas if you empower yourself and you do the work yourself and you put in the time and energy required, you will acquire skills that can never be taken away from you. So I see this, I'm figuring out the puzzle. That's what the market is. And if you're good at it, you make money. And if you don't want to put in the time to learn, then you have to resort to, you know, looking at the Wall Street Journal and saying, hey, can you tell me what I should do? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. The market's bullish. You know, investors from around the world are investing in the market right now. Yeah. It's really good. And then you'll be like, okay, can I speak to somebody who, like, you know, has done this? Like, you know, you're a newspaper. I just want to speak to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. And this guy's like, yeah, I'll help you out. I say buy. It's a buy. You know, because the Fed's doing the right thing, you know. They were the ones that printed the money in mafia banks, you know, which, you know, he's part of. And we created the inflation, so now we need to raise interest rates to do what we need to do to fight inflation. So I think it's a buy. You want to listen to a liar? Listen to a liar. If you think so little of yourself that you catch these people and you see their behaviors, you know, if you apply reasoning and logical thinking to what's happening in the world and to people's behaviors and their actions and what they say and who they're part of, and you just think logically about things, you'll understand that this guy is a nefarious character. So why in your right mind would you ever listen to what he has to say? Well, you would if you had no respect for yourself. You wouldn't do the work required if you had no respect for yourself. You would just resort to listening to these fools. Well, then what do you think is going to happen to your investment account? You think it's going to grow or you think it's going to diminish? It's going to diminish, you know, plain and simple. It's the hard truth. Most people don't want to come to these realizations. But I mean, you know, it's not such a harsh thing to come to these realizations. You know, society is being played. And if you want to be successful, you got to realize you're being played, so don't be played. Just understand the game and play it the right way. It's just, it's upsetting, but again, like I said, you know, everybody makes their choices and everybody sets their priorities. That's the way the life works, and that's fine. I accept everybody's decisions, I accept everybody's beliefs, but I'm just telling you, you want to be successful, you got to be smart, you got to think logical, and you never bend over and let your morals and your standards slip. You just cannot. Once you set yourself for a goal and you say, I'm going to be successful in this, you've got to put the work no matter what. You got to put in the time no matter what. You got to do it without any excuses, no matter what. You just got to do it. And too often I hear people always with the excuses. Everybody's with freaking excuses. One thing my father always told me when I was younger, if he asked me something and I was like, oh, I wanted to, but I didn't have time, his number one go-to sentence was, excuses, excuses, always with excuses. And it really drilled into my head how, you know, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. You know, you have excuses. You don't achieve anything in life. So I look at this puzzle and it's like, you have to figure it out. Because nobody's going to come to your house, knock on your door and say, guess what? This is what's going to happen with the market. The truth is not readily available to you. Okay? You have to discover it. You have to put in the time. And the universe will give you the answers if you deserve it. And if you put in the work, you deserve it. You don't listen to guys like this. This guy profits from people losing. Because he gets a pat on the back when he comes onto the news and says, oh, you know, stocks will soon be a buy, and the Fed is doing what they need to do. Even though, you know, logical people will look at, you know, the free-thinking people, critical people will look at what the government's doing, and they'll say, this is the biggest sham we've ever seen in our lives. They created the inflation, now they're raising interest rates to tame inflation. What the hell are you talking about? You're creating disaster after disaster. So they need characters like this to come out and say, no, we support what the Fed's doing. He's a lying scumbag just like the rest of them. And he gets a pat on the back for doing it. He plays his role just like Warren Buffett and all the other characters. So, to answer your question once again, when you say about, you know, when do you know the momentum, don't worry about stuff like that. What you got to be focused on is, what's happening here? What's the likelihood of price continuing higher? And where's it going to go? If it's going to go there, that's the upside potential. Where's the downside potential? There. Okay? That's how you look at it. Where's the upside potential? Where's the downside potential? If I entered in now and I had to put my stop loss below that zone, do you like that zone? Is it a good zone? To me, it's very narrow. I don't like narrow zones. So I'd be putting my stop loss further below. Okay? So based on where price is now and where your stop loss has to be, how much risk are you willing to take at this specific stage of price action? Okay? Retail traders are piling in short. You want to get in long. Okay, bonus. That's working on your side. But it could still drop. Are you okay with entering in long now and it's still dropping? That's the decision you have to make. I don't know what your risk tolerance is. I already got in. You know I'm already in. And I'm going to be adding to my position. Where? I believe price is going to drop. Why? Well, see that daily supply zone that we just came into contact with? Yeah. I think it's going to push price down towards that area of demand and then reverse. So if I want to add to my position, wouldn't it be a smart idea to wait until it drops to that demand area, which is the exact area where the banks were buying as retail were selling? Wouldn't that be a good spot? So all the odds are stacked in my favor that when I add to my long position, it's going to work because I've done the work. I've read the articles. I've studied price action. I've journaled in my journal. I've done countless hours of work and meditation and thinking onto all these problems, solving all these problems because I respect myself. I educate myself, and I believe I'm worth it. I believe I'm worth the success. So I do the work, and I expect to have success. So this is how I look at it. This is how I plan it, and this is how I will pull the trigger on this. I'll wait until demand comes down, and then I'll execute another trade. And then as it starts to show me that it wants to move upwards and it's going to come and attack this supply area, I don't like the fact that that descending trend line is there, to be honest with you. So I'll add down here until this descending trend line is there. If I see any strong bearish moves forming off of there that look like they could last and sustain, I'll exit my position. But if I start to see it coming here and then basing at the trend line, and I see retail traders adding even more shorts, I'll be excited. And the second it starts to pull to the upside, I'll add to my position, add until it gets to my target, and then I close my position. That's how I look at trades, is like that. Any comments? Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
I think it helps when you say, like, question yourself, what do you need? When you break it down and, you look at all these time frames, maybe it can be a little overwhelming for people who are just starting, but you break it down and just ask, what do you need? What's in play? And just kind of how you laid it out there, and you start boiling it down and you start questioning, ask yourself questions. I think that really helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, what are you basing your risk off of?
Exactly. Now remember, this is a risky trade. This is a somewhat risky trade. You know why? Because the momentum on the higher time frames is to the downside. Look at the 6-month. Demand has just been penetrated through. So the real momentum is to the downside. We're just playing this, momentarily shift to the upside before it continues back to the downside. But because I've studied the CoT Report data and the positioning of the retail traders and the formations that get created on the charts, this is a more advanced trade. I wouldn't expect any new trader who's learning the methodologies that we teach here to take a trade like this, because this is it's risky. It's risky because you're going against the flow of the river. But to me, from what I'm seeing, it's higher odds than just a going against the flow type of trade when there's trends to the downside and so forth, because again, we just broke out of a range on the monthly chart. Okay, so even though momentum is to the downside, like when you look at the 6-month chart, on the monthly we just broke out of a range and we're hitting monthly demand. So I wouldn't be very shocked to see this rally up to 104s and potentially even 105s until we get to that bearish engulf area. I wouldn't be surprised. It could even go even higher. It's possible, but whatever. We'll wait and see as it plays out. But as far as I see it right now, very good chance that we get this this push up. Banks need to take profits on shorts, and retail trader getting in shorts. Momentum shifts happening on the 4-hour chart. It's all there. So that's my thoughts. But again, like I said, it is a risky trade. Price can drop down to that 4-hour momentum shift, and it could drop even further. It could drop even further down. It's not likely, but it can. And so if that happens, are you going to freak out? Are you going to be like, oh shit? I don't have any stops on this trade. I'm just watching price action. I'm looking at the storyline. Unless the storyline shifts dramatically, I'm not interested in getting out of my long position. So I'm not really thinking about where my stop should be. I'm not looking at stops. I'm just looking at a story. I'm following the story. The story changes, I'll get out of my position. But as long as this storyline is in play, I just keep my position. There's not going to be a dramatic drop to 98s and 97s. I'm not worried about that because it's not going to happen. So I just got to be patient and let this story unfold. So far, the story is magnifico. You know, it's beautiful. Everything. When I looked at the retail positions being so bearish today, I was like, oh God, I love it. I love it. It's exactly what I want to see. And then the CoT data is going to come out soon, and then we'll see exactly where their positions are at. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you know, let's see what it was last time. Where are you? Yeah. 242, 254, 249. Okay. I wasn't that shocked when I saw it drop from 254 to 249. Because isn't that what we said? They're going to take profits on shorts. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, this week's data is 242 or 243. Maybe 230s. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised because that's what I'm expecting. So we'll see.
One thing,
right.
one thing I did, I got in a little really short-term trade on this. I believe yesterday, I just did a real small position on the euro, and once I saw it penetrating through that descending trend line on the 4-hour, I put a buy order in, and then I just exited this morning because I wanted it was coming close to contact with the proximal line on the daily supply with the confluence of the descending trend line, and so I figured there'd be some reaction. So I just got out of it quick. Now I'm just kind of boiling it down to the 15-minute. On the 15-minute, there's kind of an ascending trend line, so I'm just going to pay attention, see how it reacts off that trend line, and see if it's going to break through the 15-minute trend line, or if it's going to bounce up, maybe potentially go up through that daily supply.
You can go to the 15-minute chart. You know, there's that demand zone, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So people ask me, they're like, could you use the CoT report to like day trade? Well, because you got to look at the whole picture. Okay. Like in this context, the whole picture is massive profit taking from short positions that the banks are doing off of a monthly demand zone, which shifts the momentum to the upside. So do you think a 4-hour momentum shift to the upside is legitimate right now? I think so. Why? Because it plays along with the storyline. Remember how we say, you know, I always brought up those what do you call those things? I always say, you know, if somebody was going on vacation for a month and they were going to wear different clothes every single day, you'd see them pack their bags, and it would take a long time to pack their bags because they'd need clothes for a whole month, right? It's a long process to facilitate something that's going to happen over a long period of time. So if there's a momentum shift happening on a daily chart off of a monthly demand zone when the monthly trend is to the upside, that daily momentum shift is expected to hold because it's facilitating the accumulation of more long positions off of a monthly demand zone. What is that monthly demand zone? It's an area of buying that took place, you know, at a previous time, and it took maybe a month or two for the accumulation. So when price comes down on a daily chart, you know, you think about the structure on a daily chart. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 days. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 days for all this. Okay? Give or take. This is just an idea, just a sample so that you get the idea. 23 days to get price into a monthly demand zone that was previously demand because they created buying there. It comes back down, they shift momentum, and it takes off. It fits the storyline. Okay? It fits the storyline. That's why a daily momentum shift off of a monthly demand zone within a monthly uptrend works. That's why we know we can count on those daily demand zones to hold if the storyline fits. Monthly uptrend drops into monthly demand, it's going to take off. If there is no momentum shift, guess what? Price goes down. Why? Because this isn't in play. So everything is about storyline and what's happening on what time frame. Okay, so what's the storyline here? they lured retail traders from being long to being short the euro. Up until this very key moment here, where retail traders were getting in short as the banks were buying. Price goes up, starts heading back down. This is the demand zone on the 4-hour chart. If it goes up, drops, trend line, up, demand zone. That'd be a great day trade.
Yeah, and your risk is so minimal.
So minimal.
On a 15-minute, can you hit that retail pip and take off, and you'll feel like a king.
Exactly. So remember I told you there's ways to get into trades with incredibly small amount of risk, but the upside is so large it's ridiculous. Okay, so think about it. Where's our target here? Our target was 104. So just think about it. If price was to do this, okay, and you have your stop loss here, your entry here, and your target there. That's a what? I don't know, 20-to-1 trade. So when somebody says, could you use the CoT Report data to day trade? What they don't know is you could, but you have to work your ass off for the next 5 years to understand all the dynamics of what we teach so that you would know how to properly put it into context to take advantage of a 15-minute demand zone within a higher theme that's in play, within a higher time frame story line. This is a 4-hour momentum shift happening off of a monthly demand zone because the banks are taking profits, the retail traders are getting in short. This is why that would work. No other reason why. This is the reason why it would work. But to get to this level, you got to study this stuff for years. It's not going to be easy to get to this point. You got to study it for a long time. So that's why I'm always hesitant when people are like, can you use the CoT Report? It's like, yeah, but do you want me to go into the full explanation of how you would have to use it? Like, you don't want to hear it. Or even if I was to lay it out to you, you'd have no clue what I'm really talking about. Because you really have to go through the process like you guys have. You guys are here in level 3 because you did the work in level 1, you did the work in level 2. Now we can have these big conversations about these big topics, and you guys are not like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? You understand clearly.
They ask that question, you just be like, sure you can. Just come back to me in about 3 or 4 years and we'll talk about it then.
Yeah.
Ask me that question in 4 years and see what you think.
Yeah. Can you do it? Yes, you can. How do you do it? Go through level 1, go through level 2, do your homework regardless of your job. Do your homework regardless of how many hours you didn't get sleep last night. Do your job regardless of your friends saying, hey, do you want to come out to the bar? Do that over and over and over and over again. You know, give yourself that amount of respect, and then you'll see how you can day trade using that information. And you can make 20, 30-to-1 trades if you know what you're doing. Most people don't want to commit, to stuff like that, but so that's their decision. Everybody wants the results, but nobody wants to put in the effort to get it. So that's it. Like, I got an email. Let me see if I have it. By the way, this Thunderbird software is amazing. If you guys were ever thinking about changing your software that you use, holy man, I gotta highly recommend it. Did I get a response back? Let me see. Thanks. I clearly misunderstood. Okay. But that's the test of a true person, of somebody's character. When you're forced to make the hard decisions, do you make the wrong ones? That's what it's all about. I talked to my wife. I said, the way I look at life is we're in a maze. Okay, you enter the maze on one side, and there is the opposite side of the maze. There's an exit, and you will make it to the exit no matter what. It's just written into the very fabric of our life. You will make it to the exit. There's no other way that this ends except for you going through the exit. But when you're born and you're thrown into the maze, you kind of forget this. Movies tell you that it's not possible. TV tells you that it's not possible. Education tells you that things are different, that it's not always like that. Everything in life distracts you from the knowing that you will make it to the exit. So what happens is you walk down, you're like, oh, this is easy, this maze. Woo-hoo! This is so simple. Yeah, because you're living with mom and dad. Okay. And all you got to do is go to school and get an education. Unfortunately, what you don't know is the education you're getting is going to help to ruin your chances of making through the maze successfully. So you're going to lose hope. You're going to be like, where the hell am I? I'm going to quit. I can't do this. And you're going to give up. And you're going to resort to other people giving you direction as opposed to you taking your own direction. And you're going to go down the wrong path, and you're going to come across a wall, and you're going to say, damn it, another dead end. Now what? I have to go back? And most people, they just give up. But the thing is, if you have faith, you trust yourself, you put in effort, you put in work, guess what? You don't let yourself down. You become smart. You're like, okay, I understand. This came to a dead end, so I went the wrong way. Let's go back onto the path that I knew was right, and continue forward and never give up. In fact, I'm going to enjoy the journey. And if I come across a dead end, whoop-de-doo, I'm going to enjoy the journey. If you look at things that way, guess what? You make it through the maze. You go through every little crevice of the maze with a smile on your face. And at the end of it, you come out the exit. But it's, do you make the right decisions when times get tough? Do you tell your boss, sorry, I'm not going to inject that shit in me because I want to live to see my grandkids when I'm 80 years old? I'll just find another job if that's what it comes down to it. If it comes down to that, I'm going to make that decision. Do you tell your wife, hey, I get it, you want me to find another job? The easy thing is just to take all the stuff that Kevin taught me and try to just like teach somebody else and ask for money, and maybe I can, build my own little education company, and I could be making some money too. Do you do that, or do you say no? You can't do that. That goes against the very fabric of what I'm here for. And I'm going to take somebody's kindness and trust in me, and I'm going to say thank you very much. Now I'm going to use it for my benefit. Regardless of the decisions that this gentleman made in his life, I'm sure he was faced with many tough decisions, and it looks like he's made some good decisions because things seem to be working well for him. He's doing well. He's got a nice home. He's got his family. They're healthy. He's doing well with the school. The school keeps on growing. His analysis is good. The guy works hard. Shit. He makes some good decisions. He can make a lot of bad decisions. There's a lot of things he could be doing that he doesn't do. Why? Because he's not gonna bend his morals. He won't do it. So let me take that example and not let his trust in me be something that's going to taint him and his experience. This guy is trying to go through life positive, happy, with high spirits, and I'm gonna take that trust that he gave to me and just like destroy it? Why would I want to give somebody else, another human being that's working so hard to have a good life experience so that he can affect other people around him in a good, positive way, including strangers from around the world, his family, his friends? Why would I want to introduce a little bit of toxicity into his bloodline? Why would I do that? What gain am I going to get from that? A few bucks? It's not worth it. Life is not about the money. It's about, do you make the right decisions when you're up against challenges? If you do, you will be rewarded 150%. There's no doubt about it. My life experience has taught me that. You make the right decisions, you will be rewarded. Even if you think it's going to take a long time to get the rewards from those tough decisions, trust me, it's not. It'll come a lot sooner than you ever expected. But it's, do you make those right decisions? And it takes a lot of life experience. It takes a lot of meditation. It takes a lot of learning, self-improvement, a lot of mistakes, a lot of to get to a point where you understand this about life. Most people don't. But, this has been my life experience. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've contemplated these things just like I contemplate the markets, just like I contemplate what's happening in the world, what's happening with the media, what's happening with price action, why, logic, reasoning, all that critical thinking. You apply that to life, and my life experiences, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, okay? Made a lot of mistakes, and I continue to make mistakes, but I'm always trying to think, what did I do wrong? Why did I do it? I'm a good guy, but why would I make that decision? How could I affect somebody in a negative way when I never even wanted to affect them in a negative way? What was it about my thinking that was wrong? How could I be different? And my life experience has taught me exactly what I just shared with you. So if that means something to you, great. Hopefully it does. And that's it. But, we all have our challenges, and I won't fault anybody for making mistakes, but I won't leave myself exposed to somebody who I know is capable of resorting to the easy answers as opposed to the right answers. If you're not at that stage in life where I can trust that you're going to make the right decisions, then I'm going to limit my exposure to you, because you are now going to be a threat to my well-being, and I tend to think that I'm pretty well grounded. I'm not going to be shaken up very easily from somebody's faults. But I mean, I don't want to overly expose myself to things that I don't need to expose myself to, right? I prefer to be around people that I can trust, be around people that, are looking to better themselves, and they are happy to see my success, just as I am happy to see their success. If you have somebody that's like, oh, I'm going to get you, you'll see, I'm going to be more successful than you. It's like, wait a minute. Why would you say such a thing? I've never wished for you to be less successful than me. That's just terrible. I'm successful. I'm happy. I want other people to be successful and happy. Because when other people are successful and happy, we can talk about our life experiences, and we can grow together, and we can be like, wow, you learned that? That's great. I'm going to take that on and then let that inspire me. And then I say something to you and you're like, oh, wow, that's great. I'm going to take that on and let that inspire me. And we're supposed to all be pushing ourselves up, not be like, bitter. And so people like that, I just, I can't, there's only so much I will take, but there gets to a point when I see that somebody is just not in the right frame of mind, and they're not at a healthy place, then I'll just say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to back away. I wish you all the best, and, let it be where it's at. And that's it.
Yeah, people get desperate sometimes.
Yeah, people get desperate sometimes. I understand.
But still shouldn't change your character.
Right. Exactly. Right. So I wish people the best, and, I will do whatever I can to help people out to the best that I can, and hopefully they wish me the best just like I wish them the best, and that's it, So that's how it is. We're all growing. We're all going through our stages. I look back at my life and I see a lot of things that I did and said that I didn't even realize how it was coming off. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God. Sheesh. I love talking to older people that, are, that you would consider to be intelligent, because you watch how they speak, you watch what they say, you see their mannerisms, and you can see years of life experience that have taught these people how to act, how to respond, how to behave. They're like, when you find a good older person, they're like the most, decent, fair, understanding, polite, courteous people you could ever come across. Just great people, great people. And it's like, I play tennis, right? And I'm fortunate enough to play during the day on a weekday because because of how I've set up my life. But the majority of the people I play against are all retired, because typically you have to be retired to be able to play tennis on a Wednesday afternoon. And so these people are just like the greatest people. I love hanging around these people. They're just happy, polite, very humble. Even if they're great tennis players, they never make it seem like, that they're so high on their skills. They always encourage. You miss a ball, they don't make a comment. Or if they make a comment, it's like, hey, wasn't your fault. There was such a crazy spin on that ball. Did you see that? That was just nuts. Like, they do everything to encourage and to uplift. It's so refreshing to be around people like that.
I think
All
they
right,
enjoy.
I'm gonna let you guys go. Sorry?
Oh, I was gonna say, I think at the same time they probably enjoy telling the story to somebody who's willing to listen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very humble. Very humble.
Mm-hmm.
They never talk about their abilities. They never talk about their skills. They never talk about their money. They never talk about their homes. They never talk about anything. They just, engage with you about life. And if you ask them specific questions, then they'll go into details about things. But otherwise, they're not giving out information to like make themselves look so high and mighty. They don't. But then you come across younger people and it's like, yeah, I just bought this new car. It's like, really? I didn't even ask you, do you have a new car? Why are you like coming right into my face telling me about the new car you bought? You know what I mean? I bought this new car. I'm going on vacation in a couple of weeks. I'm going on vacation. I'm staying at this resort. And it's like, okay, good for you. That's great. I guess I must need to know that you're going on vacation. I got a cousin. He's just so bad when it comes to stuff like that. He's just too much.
Or the people. I mean, I have a really good friend of mine, but he always, it drives me nuts. So that I don't know. I don't think he comes off. It's not like trying to like be like a showboat or whatever. But he always he always has to tell me how much stuff costs. Oh, I bought this. It was $5,000. I was like, I didn't ask you how much it was. I don't care how much it was. If I want to know how much it was, I'll ask you. But they always have to tell me how much stuff costs all the time. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Can you just tell me you got something and you got it? I'll be, okay, great.
Yeah.
Or if I get something, they have to ask me, well, what'd you pay for that? It's like,
yeah.
Is that kind of, depending on what it is, it can be kind of a little personal, when people ask and stuff. But it's just the way they are.
Yeah.
I'm sure you met people like that.
Well, since I moved up here, I met a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh man, how much you pay for this house?" I'm like, "What the hell? Did he just ask me how much I pay for this house?" Holy smokes! Like, if I'm talking to somebody and we get into deep conversations, and I can sense that they really care about my well-being and about my story, and they're like, "Oh, that's great. You moved up from the city, and they really care about my journey and trying to place where I am in my journey. And then they say, "Oh, that's amazing. And then you bought this house. Yeah. It must have been a perfect time when you bought this house. If you don't mind me asking, what was it going for?" If it's within that context, and there has been those situations where I've talked to people in those circumstances, and they say, "If you don't mind me asking, what did you pay for it?" And I tell them, because I understand that they're asking because they want to understand and they want to place, where along in my journey I am, so they can be like, "Oh, that's great. That's a good deal. Wow, good for you." You know what I mean? And then there's those people that are like, "Oh, nice place. What did this set you back?" And it's like, "Oh, this guy just wants to know what I make every year." And in those circumstances, I'm like, I cringe. I'm like, how do I, without being rude, say, I prefer not to say that, or throw out a joke and say, "Oh, way too much, or much more than I'd like to admit." Yeah,
Yeah,
and you have
yeah.
to resort to those type of things, right? But how's Bitcoin doing, anyways? 21, it bounced back up. Yeah, my buddy with Bitcoin. Oh yeah, nice little rally right into supply. Whoa, look at that. Wow, we could see that now. Because if things were going to go higher, they would have used this area to do it. And now, created
Yep.
supply. But it is still sitting within demand, so, tricky business. But then again, you got the descending trend line on the weekly, so it could drop from there as well.
I was thinking of maybe taking a small position, just a little small risk, maybe if it for a short, if it well, we have a 4-hour demand. If that daily supply pushes it down and breaks that 4-hour demand, creating supply, maybe that could be like a small entry with small risk off of a 4-hour.
Yeah.
I just have my gut feeling just tells me it's going to go down to those higher time frames, like the 6-month and 12-month. I just can't. I know we have that obstacle in the weekly, but I just thought about maybe trying it.
Yeah. Well, remember what we were talking about. So the structures on the on the monthly chart are broken. So this is the next one in play, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Demand gets hit. So if demand doesn't get hit, which that could happen because look at the formation here.
All right, the basing, yeah.
Okay.
Basing.
It could fall short and rally. There is this resistance, I guess you can call it, area. So we could see it rally. How do we know? I don't know about that area. Hold on for a second. Let me see. Oh, shoot. Oh, there we go. I can go back. Because we were looking at this being a potential area, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, that supply would have to be removed for there to be any upside. That's it, plain and simple. Supply removed, okay. And even then, if supply was removed, we have this, and then we can have demand, and then range. So that would have to be removed. Upward trend, demand. So there's a lot of things to know that Bitcoin's actually going to go higher. But there are ways to, see momentum shifting on the lower time frames and potentially providing with longer term move up so that this can go up to the monthly supply and continue making a move. So if that happened on the weekly, you could take a trade off the weekly demand. First target would be monthly supply. Wait to see for failed momentum shifts to the downside, and then add to your position on the way up. That could work out too.
Right.
Yeah. Paul writes, excuses. Yeah, I know. I could not agree more. Jesse writes, nice. Yeah, this is just my experience. Who knows? This has just been my experience, and I've come to learn that it just comes down to those things. At least for me in my life right now, those things that I shared with you, that's what's most important in life, is staying true to those things. You stay true to those things, your life will be good. Don't worry about vacations and cars and jewelry and all that shit. All that stuff is nice, and you can have that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you'll trade your morals for those things, then you're gonna have heart problems when you drink coffee. When you trade what you truly believe for convenience, you're gonna have problems. If you don't want to do chart work and you just want to read the Wall Street Journal, you're going to buy the market when the banks are selling, and you're going to lose money. Did you see the guy in the Telegram channel the other day? He was insisting that I give him signals. He was being a little bit of a pest. Oh, I know. Just give me signals. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. You'll lose money. No, I understand, but I already lost so much money. I just need signals. And finally, some of the guys in the group, they're like, you're doing it the wrong way. Just stop asking for that. You're not going to get that. Just leave it alone. and he eventually backed off. But
that's the thing too. It's like, why would you want to rely on somebody? You got to rely on yourself. You can't rely on other people to tell you what to do. I mean, what if that person's no longer with you anymore? What if he's gone or moves? Something. You never know what's going to. Then what are you going to do? Who you going to ask then?
Yeah, it's like somebody saying, I'm going to ask you for every decision I should make in life. Should I get that job? Should I live in this house? Should I marry that woman? You know, it's like, well, why don't you learn the skills required to navigate the world, and then you can navigate your world? Because they come to you and they say, I want to be an excellent world navigator. And you're like, wonderful. Let me give you the skills. And then they say, no, I just want you to tell me what house I should buy, what woman I should marry, what job I should take. And it's like, wait, hold on for a second. Didn't you say you want to be a world navigator, like an excellent? Yeah, that's what I want. But I just want you to make all the decisions for me. It's like, it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way.
I mean, like a typical job, you're not going to keep asking your boss, should I do this? Should I do this? I mean, he's going to rely on you to be able to come up with an answer. You know, you can't. Also, you got to put it in real life perspective. People don't put trading into context with real life.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, trading has taught me so much about life in general. So much about life in general. And at the beginning, I couldn't quite understand. I couldn't quite understand why, if an outcome is 50-50, you buy it, it either goes up or it goes down. If it's only 50-50, why then is, like, 9 times out of 10, your trades are going to lose? Why is that? How is that possible? It just bewildered me. I was like, there's something to this that I have to figure out. And then I started to realize, I think trading is the most difficult profession you could have. I honestly think so. Because if you want to be an accountant, just go to a school, learn how to be an accountant. You add the numbers, you calculate things, you read the government data, you read the government laws, and you just follow it, and you're an accountant. You might be a bad accountant because you won't think outside the box and be creative with the way you design tax saving structures and stuff, but you'll be an accountant. You could still get money. There's bad accountants, there's bad lawyers, there's bad doctors. They still make money. I see them all the time. Bad doctors, bad naturopaths. I see bad people in their professions all the time. It just shocks me. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, these people have no ambition to be amazing at what they do, because there's so much more potential that they could have, but they just don't want to go through it. So, but trading, if you're bad, you lose money. If you're continually bad, you blow up your account. That's it. The market doesn't care. It's not going to hire you and give you money just because you're the only option in town. The market gives you zero. In fact, it doesn't even give you zero. It takes from you, unless you know what you're doing and you put in the work. So if you're not good, you lose money. Not just not make it, you lose money. And when I start to realize that a lot of what I was being told to be successful, and I was going through the Market Wizards books and listening to a lot of podcasts with professional traders, and I was always hearing the same thing. You got to put a lot of work, you got to track, you got to write down your trades, but a lot of the information just didn't fit me well too. It's like, oh, you have to have a system, and you do the same thing over time, and you tweak your system. And I'm like, okay, that part I get, but that's just not me. I want to understand. I want to dig deep. It's almost like, you buy a book that teaches you how to live a good life, and they just give you, every time you get to a red light, just stop and wait until the light turns green, wait 1 second, and then go forward. Every time you get to a yield sign, stop for 10 seconds, you should be good, and then you go forward. Every time you get to an intersection, you can't have exact rules for every little situation in life. I mean, people make it work, but you're not gonna, if that's what satisfies you, great. For me, I really wanted to understand, just like your average person. You go to school, you get an education, you get out, you get a job, you get a wife, you have kids, you send them to school, you work your job. Doesn't matter if you're happy or not. You watch the game with your boys, you get old, you die. Everybody lives by those same rules. It's like, well, don't you want to do extra? Don't you want to like really understand the world? Don't you really want to understand health? Or do you just want to resort to going to the doctor and letting them tell you? Do you want to put your life in somebody else's hand? Or do you really want to grasp control of it and be the best you can be? That's the decision that you make. Most people in the field just do the basic minimum. Most people that just live their lives in the basic way, and that's fine. So when I realized that there was a lot of work involved and that my maturity level in my life was going to be reflected in my trading, I was like, oh, wow, that's big. That's big. If I'm not mature enough to do the work, I'm not going to get the results. If I'm not mature enough to track and trace things, I'm not going to get the results. If I'm not mature enough to want to journal in my book, then why would I see the success that would be attained by journaling in my book? And it took a while. At first, I didn't want to journal. I didn't want to do those things. I'm like, what a waste of time. I mean, I don't have to. I could just bypass that. Okay. And then I was inspired to watch certain shows on TV. And one that really changed me, I have to tell you this, one that really changed me was watching the show Downton Abbey. I remember just thinking to myself, I was running a business. I was very busy. Life was all over the place, and I just did not feel fulfilled at all. I said, I have all the things that I thought was going to make me happy. I'm running a business. I have employees. I get to tell them what I need them to do, and I have control, and it's awesome, and making good money, and I have a nice house, and I drive a nice car, and dating a good-looking girl, and she's very nice, and all this stuff. But I was freaking miserable. I was miserable. And I was like, what is so miserable about this life? And it's like, well, because everything's so fast-paced, and you're just all over the place. And you're searching and going after things that, apparently are not making you happy. And then I remember the show Downton Abbey. Somebody told me about it. They're like, oh, it's such a great show. You got to watch it. And I was like, okay. And I remember watching the first episode, and I was like, wow, that's just so heartwarming. What a good show. Didn't have to, there's no crazy plot twists. This woman's cheating on her husband, and the husband's walking into the house, and then that's the end of that episode. We'll see you next week to see if Margaret's going to be caught by her husband, or if Frank's going to jump out the window and she's going to get away. And it's like, there's no immoral behavior. There's no fast cars. I'm driving a Lambo with the hot tune playing in the background to make you be like, oh, I want to drive a Lambo too. There's none of that garbage. The crap that I thought was going to make me happy, there wasn't any of that garbage. It was plain. It was simple. The story was beautiful. It was about, their behavior, their manners. This is what the show was about. Their behavior, their manners, how they treated others. And the show was entertaining. It was like I got more of a rush watching that show than any other shows I had ever watched. And you know what? One of my favorite shows that I used to have was Entourage. You remember the show Entourage? You guys remember that with Jeremy Piven? That was a great show.
I like that
one. With those guys. Oh, yeah. God, I love that show. That was my favorite show, Entourage. Why? These young guys making money and living in California and hitting up the clubs and the girls and the cars and the basketball and watching the basketball games and traveling in private jets and all that crap. And I'm like, wow. After I watched Downton Abbey, and then I thought about this show, I said, are you proud of their behavior? What would you say about their behavior? What would you say about their morals? What would you say about, the standards that they lived by? Terrible. And this show was shown to be like, you know, if you're a young guy, this is what you should aspire to be. Just like Sex in the City. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. And then you wonder, what were shows like this for? This is like the push for the feminist movement. Okay? This is the push for the feminist movement. You don't need a man. You can do your own thing. You can dress up, put makeup on. You go out. You could be the man. You could be the man. You can treat the guy like you're the man, and the guy is the bitch. It's like this was the attitude behind this show. You could be promiscuous. You could sleep with this one, sleep with that one. Who cares? You have no standards. It doesn't matter. Garbage. You watch Downton Abbey. It's like you couldn't be in a room with a man unchaperoned because of how it would look to polite society. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you care about yourself and your image and your character so much that you wouldn't want to be caught with another man who's single in a room by yourself without there being your lady next to you, your friend, your mother, your father there to verify that everything's on the up and up and that you're not being mistreated, disrespected or taken advantage of? Can you imagine that? And look at the standard that we live by today. Go to the bar, hit a couple shots. Hey, one night stand, no big deal. Wake up the next morning, talk about how big his size was. Like, disgusting. This is utter disgustingness. It's the very foundation of what dismantles our standards and our morals and our respect for ourselves and our respect for others. When you don't care about yourself, you're saying, I don't care what my parents think of me. I don't care what my friend thinks of me. I don't care what my community thinks of me. I don't care what God thinks of me. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if you don't like it, that's your tough shit. You know, and you think you're so empowered. And they sell this idea, oh, you're very empowered when you think this way. No, you're destroying yourself. You're becoming a nobody. You're becoming somebody that's disrespected, and you have no respect for yourself, so why would anybody respect you? And then, but you're chasing the fast women, you're chasing the fast cars, you're chasing all the crap that's never going to make you satisfied. And then, suicides are up. Oh, whoop-de-doo. What a surprise. And then people are so unhappy. They're like, oh, I can't be happy with anything. Maybe I'm not even a woman. Maybe I'm a man. Like, it's gotten to that extreme. Can you imagine? Next, it's going to be, oh, maybe I'm a giraffe. Maybe I'm not a woman. Maybe I'm a giraffe. Let me take on those traditions of the African tribes where they elongate their neck. Let me start putting these bands of metal around my neck. Let me elongate my neck and turn myself into a giraffe. I'll tattoo spots on me, and I'll eat leaves from a tree. Jesus. My Lord. So I watched that show, and I was just like, whoa. Whoa. It just hit me so hard. Etiquette, standards, manners, making others the priority. Yes, in our own minds, we always want to take care of ourselves and our own desires. Yes. But putting others first is how you take care of yourself. People don't understand that. Putting other people first is how you take care of yourself. But people have been indoctrinated to believe, no, you got to take care of yourself. I come first. No man's going to make me. And it just keeps going on and on. So people think I got to take care of myself. I got to do what's best for me. No, it doesn't work that way. You do yourself. You take care of yourself. You think about yourself. Guess what? Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody will care about you. Nobody will put effort into you. Nobody will want to, share stories with you, share experiences with you, want you to be part of their journey. People will not want to associate with you. Anybody that's just is very selfish, they shun everybody away. But have you ever turned your back on somebody who's always been there for you, who's always, been there to support you no matter what? Like, my cousin came to my house the other day, and when he told me that he was having heart palpitations and heart problems, inside of me, I was like, Oh, but I told you. I told you. Why did you do it? But I was like, you know, I just gave him support. I said, I'm really sorry to hear that, man. That's just devastating. I'm devastated to hear that. But, hopefully there's things that you can do to mitigate that, you know. And you're there to support because you have to understand he's living his life, he's making his journey, and that's the decision that he made. So you just support. No matter what, you just support. That's your job, just to support. And this show taught me that. And it taught me to get back to the grassroots of what life is all about. And I saw their beautiful library and I'm like, knowledge, knowledge. Look at these beautiful libraries. And I started doing research. What do these grand, large families always have? Libraries. Wow. And do you notice that their houses had specific rooms for specific times of the day for specific traditions? The tea room, the billiards room, the just sitting around and enjoying each other's company room, your bedrooms. They had so many different rooms for so many different times of the day. And what was the thing that was so important for these people? Their leisure time. That was the number one thing that was so important. They needed to create a life where their expenses were paid for, everything that they needed was taken care of. Their bills were paid for, the food was put on the table, okay? Everything was provided for the family, and they had their leisure time. Why did they need that leisure time? Because that was their time to reflect. That was their time to think about their life. That was their time to think about their family, to be there for their family, to invite family over, to entertain their family, to provide a little bit of what they had for their family members so that they could have enjoyment from what you've been able to provide, to read those books, to acquire more knowledge, to become a better person, a stronger person, a more able person. This is what they focused on. And because of this repetitive loop, their lives just got better, and they became more wise, and they became more accepted in society and more respected. And, by the time they reach 70, 80 years old, they're like, people that are highly respected in society, appreciated. They do charitable work. They work for the people. They give back to communities. And they have a legacy that lives on because of their character. And this is something that people live by. There's lots of people that live by this, but this show really encapsulated all that. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, that is meaningful. What this show represents is meaningful. This is what I have to go for. And so I was like, I like this idea of having a journal and writing. You see these scenes where they walk into the room, they're like, oh, hey, am I interrupting? Oh, no problem. And they put their fountain pen down. I'm like, look at this person. This person cares so much about their life that they're sitting at their desk and they're writing about their life. They're writing about their decisions, about their troubles, about what they're thinking about what they'd like to do. How beautiful is that? And then one day when they die, they pass that journal down to their children. Whoa, can you imagine? There's certain things that you don't want to tell your kids when they're young because they won't understand because they're not adults. And by the time they're adults, you'll forget that you wanted to tell them those things. But if you wrote it in your journal and say, hey, this day you were 8 years old, you drew me a beautiful house, and you drew a picture of me with a big smile. I just want to let you know that earlier that day, I was feeling a little bit down. A few things happened in my life that made me a little bit sad. And it's just like God spoke to you and said, if you did this and you gave it to your dad, you're going to put such a smile on your face. And it just reminded me of the beauty of the world and the beauty of the thing that we live in, that this happened like this, the way it did. You gave me this drawing and it put such a smile on my face and it changed my day. And you write that down. One day when you're no longer here and your daughter's like sitting around, having a Friday evening, she's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to watch a little bit of TV? No, I don't feel like watching TV. Looking over at her bookshelf, she sees your diary and she's like, oh, I'm going to look through Dad's old diary and just see what's there. Why? I don't know. Maybe in that moment, she needs to be inspired. Maybe she's going through some tough times in her life and she just needs that little fire to be lit up. And she goes over, gets that diary, sits down on the couch, opens it up, and she reads that exact same passage that you wrote years ago. And it's as if that moment, There's such a spiritual connection. She'll get goosebumps on her arms, and it'll be like you're there whispering to her just as you were when you were sitting down at that diary writing it in that day. You'll be communicating with her on a deep spiritual level, and she'll feel that, and she'll be, powered up by that. Those are real experiences. And so when I started thinking about those things, I'm like, I gotta have that. I gotta create that. And so when I started journaling, it's just been so great ever since then. When I started focusing on the simple things, I had to move myself out of the city. I wanted to live in the country. I wanted peace. I wanted to be surrounded by nature. I didn't want to hear the busy city. I didn't want my phone constantly ringing. I set up my life so I could have peace. And ever since I've made those changes in my life has been exponentially getting better and better and better every single year. So, that's the inspiration I took. You can use TV to inspire you or to send you down the wrong path in life. Or if you're smart about it, you can use it to enrich you, to make you better. And that's what I decided to do when I started watching this show. And it's been nonstop ever since then. Nonstop. I don't watch regular TV shows. I don't just flip on Netflix and just put on whatever's the latest movie. I'm very particular with what I watch. I only watch things that I will feel like will inspire me to be a better person and to do, good behaviors and take on good habits in my life. So that's it. That's my experience. And wow, I keep on rambling on. That's my feelings on things. All right. You guys sleeping?
Oh no. No. We're listening.
Yeah. The latest show I've been watching, if you're interested, maybe you're not, I don't know. I'll just share it anyways. Mr. Selfridge, good show. Mr. Selfridge, about the big store that was that opened up in England.
Oh, I like that actor too. That's Ari from Entourage.
That's right, Ari from Entourage. Yeah. Selfridge was like the big department store that didn't exist until this guy came around and had the vision to create a big department store. And it shows, he's a good man. He's got, a decent character, very driven. He's all about his business. He cares about his staff, but he has a lot of downfalls. And it explains the reason why he has, flaws in his character, because of his upbringing and how his dad was and the relationship between his dad and how it's, veered his morals in a certain direction that he doesn't necessarily agree with. Then he sees the problems that it's causing in his relationships, and then he's committed to make a change to that. Like, it's just great stuff. It shows that we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but take the life lessons, especially when you love somebody. A lot of times we'll do things that are wrong, even though at night we have a hard time sleeping with ourselves because of those things that we did. And we'll continue to do it, whether or not we think it's the right thing for ourselves. But when we see it affecting those that we care about on a deep level, then, that's when you're supposed to say, okay, I love this person so much, I don't want them to have to suffer because of my problems. So you got to fix it so that you don't cause that pain anymore. So it's a great show. I've been really enjoying it. We just finished season 1. We started season 2, my wife and I. And it's a great thing, I work all day. I play with my kids. When everybody's in bed, all the kids are in bed, it's just my wife and I. We put on this show. We watch like a half an hour segment. It makes us feel good. We shut it off. We go to bed. I take out my book. I light up my candle. I do some reading. Just alone time, by myself time, just me and my book. And then when my eyes can't be kept open anymore, that's it. I close my book, lay in bed, sleep like a baby. That's it. All right, guys. I will have to let you guys go. It's almost lunchtime, and I have appointments that I have to get to. this afternoon. So good session. I enjoyed the chat. Thank you for listening. And
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you have a good week.
Have a good weekend. Bye, everyone.